All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this weekly forecast for the upcoming week. So, starting tomorrow, um, on Monday, June 29th, all the way through to July 3rd. Okay. So, let's start by looking at the economic calendar here. And when we look at it, it doesn't look that interesting, but let's dive deeper into it, see what we really have and which days are most likely to be the most interesting. So on Monday, we don't really have anything. Some Euro news, but not great, to be honest. So Monday, I'm not expecting much. Tuesday, we have Canadian dollar news. That's actually going to be really interesting because a month ago, we were in a technical recession where our GDP went lower by 0.1%. But now they're expecting it to climb. So we'll see about that. I don't really believe in that, but we'll see. So that's going to be interesting. Canadian dollar news. And then we also have some US dollar news, but it's not great. It's not it's not red folders, but what I'm going to be focused on is openings here. Why? Because we're going to see a decline in openings here. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Then after that, we move on to Wednesday. We have some Euro news, Canadian GBP, and we have PMI. Okay, so PMI is pretty much the main highlight of this week, I think. Oh no, actually no. No, I didn't say that. Sorry. We have NFP on Thursday. So no, PMI is not the highlight of this week, but PMI is definitely going to be interesting. So Wednesday should be interesting, and then Thursday, of course, will also be interesting because we have NFP. And then after that, well, it's actually a short week this week, because there's a bank holiday on Friday. I think it's because it's July 3rd, and you know, uh, how do they call it? Well, America Day, like how do they call it? 4th of July, basically. So I think that's why on Friday the banks are going to be closed. So no trading on Friday. So it's a very short week. And if I had to, you know, uh, what's the word? Sorry, guys, I'm having a blank here. So if I have to like sum up everything, I would say that Monday, Tuesday, low volatility, probably choppy. So be careful tomorrow and Tuesday. But after that, Wednesday, Thursday, that's where we're going to get the real moves. And then Friday, the market is closed. Okay, so it's a short week. So we want to capitalize probably towards the end of the week. Well, the second part of the week, the second half of the week. And that's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so that's it for the economy calendar. Now, if we look right here on the dollar, you can see that we created, I'm going to remove some stuff here. We created this weekly fair value gap. Okay, right here. But it's a breakaway gap because we closed above the second candle's high. So that's a breakaway gap, and we still have this target to reach. Okay, so if you look on the daily, well, you remember last week we had this daily fair value gap, and what did I say? On Friday, I said, well, on Thursday night for the forecast, I said we can sweep Thursday's low, staying inside the fair value area, and continue higher. And right now, that candle looks like it wants to respect. So from what we're seeing on the daily right now, it does seem like we want to continue higher already towards this high, which is the context high, and eventually this high up here. Um, but I think it's really important to keep in mind that we also have a weekly fair value gap underneath, which is much stronger. And so there's two scenarios here. There's two scenarios, and I think we really have to wait for Monday because Monday should be a consolidation. There shouldn't be a lot of volatility or anything. So two scenarios here. Scenario one is that the market opens, and we just start climbing higher from here already, and we reach this high. Very simple. So it's possible to catch a trade, to catch a trade here. Okay? That's scenario one. Scenario two is that we start disrespecting that daily fair value gap and trading lower towards the weekly fair value gap. And once we get inside the weekly fair value gap, then we can switch bullish. Okay? So these are my two scenarios for the week. And obviously, we will have to see what price does on Monday. And then, well, tomorrow in the daily forecast, we'll be able to assess a little bit better what price wants to do. Do we want to go back inside that weekly fair value gap, or do we reach the target first? But right now, if I'm being objective, if you take the fact that this weekly fair value gap is a breakaway fair value gap, we closed above, and you take the fact that Friday's candle looks very bullish, like this wick at the bottom. I would say that the most likely scenario right now, from what I'm seeing, is to start moving higher already, like this. So scenario one, okay? That right now does look like the highest probability scenario. But just keep in mind that we have a weekly fair value gap underneath. That's really important. Okay. So yeah, the dollar does look good for this week. I think, yeah, I definitely think there's some potential here. And also, I wanted to show you something. We go on the weekly time frame, and we take this range because we're still within that range, right? So from this high to this low, there we go. So I believe that and I'm talking really long term here. Okay, this is like for the let's say for the next 6 months, okay? What I think will happen with the US dollar in the next 6 months is that we are going to reach that high right here and potentially the zero point 0.5, probably the zero point 0.5. But from there, the dollar is not going to keep going higher. The dollar is a currency that loses value over time. We all know that on a long period of time, I mean. And so I actually think that we're close to a huge reversal here in the price of the dollar. We're approaching this critical area where I'm expecting price to actually start going lower for the next 6 months of 2026, well, until December, basically. Okay? So again, this is really long term. I might be wrong, but I feel like the dollar is setting up nicely to continue lower. Okay? So yeah, I think that would be interesting to keep an eye on. But for now, it's not very relevant for this upcoming week. For this upcoming week, I just think we can simply reach the this target, this weekly swing high, and then from there we'll see what happens. Okay, but I just wanted to show you. I thought it was interesting. Okay, now moving on to the majors. Sorry. All right. So AU right here. AU on the weekly, very big expansion candle. So usually after that, you expect somewhat of a consolidation, but the dollar doesn't seem like it will consolidate this week. Um, so I think AU could potentially reach that target before the end of the week, just like the dollar, basically. So on the weekly, we don't really have anything, but on the daily, right here, as you can see, I'm gonna remove this alert. We got this thing on Thursday inside the fair value gap, and we're moving lower from it now. We're really moving lower. And so I don't think, but it's possible. It's possible, okay? It depends on what the dollar wants to do. If the dollar wants to move higher already, then we should be looking on the 4 hour and see can we create a 4 hour fair value gap here? Because we had this 4 hour fair value gap right there, which we are we got this thing into two candle rejection, perfect, beautiful, and now we're expanding lower. So that looks like it wants to start going lower already, just like the dollar. So I would be waiting right here for another 4 hour fair value gap or maybe 1 hour fair value gap, something like that. Okay, to continue lower. But there's also the second scenario. If the dollar starts going lower tomorrow, then that means that AU is going to start going higher here. We can sweep the rejection high, so that yellow line, to then move lower. Okay? So again, it's reacting here on what the dollar does. But this is definitely interesting for this move. GU. I don't like GU, and hey, there's a good reason for that, is that we have reached this major target. It has been reached. Now, this other target that we have, the further one, is really far, and there's no way we're gonna reach this low within this week. I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, this GU is not as good, but still we do have a weekly fair value gap. Then on the daily, we don't have much, but maybe. So as I said, this low has been reached, so we can remove it. And now the new low, the new target, the context target of the weekly time frame is this low. So like last week's low, basically. And so maybe if the dollar um, goes lower, if you have that second scenario where the dollar goes lower, then GU is going to go higher, probably sting inside the fair value gap to then deliver lower. So that could be interesting. It's just not as good as AU, for example. GU, yeah, very similar here. Very similar on EU. We actually have this um, weekly fair value gap, but the retracement all the way up to that weekly fair value gap just doesn't seem likely. Um, and also, the other very important point is that the next target is literally all the way down here. That's the next target. That's really far. There's no way we're going to reach that within a week. We could say, okay, on the daily, we have like this target that's a little bit closer, but still, even this one is far. So honestly, EU, and also the fact there's another thing too, is the fact that we're currently stinging inside a quarterly fair value gap. That's strong. That's a big fair value gap right here. And I wouldn't trade against it, to be honest. Because remember, if the dollar is going higher this week, we're expecting EU to go lower. And so that means that we're trading against that bigger quarterly fair value gap, which is risky. So honestly, EU, no, I don't want to overthink it too much. It's just not good. NU does look good though. Yes, we have a massive expansion and we could just consolidate to create that weekly fair value gap. But again, I think the dollar is going to move this week. And so I think this target is reachable. It's relatively close. And so I think this is reachable uh, before the end of the week. So on the daily, there's two scenarios here. If you look on the 4 hour, either just like on AU, either we create this 4 hour fair value gap and we just start moving lower from it already. Okay, that's scenario one, depending on what the dollar wants to do. But if the dollar retraces all the way back to the weekly fair value gap, then NU is going to start going higher, get that sting inside this, which I think is a daily fair value gap. And from there, we can start actually moving lower, right? And we never got this sting, by the way, inside this daily fair value gap. We can still get it. It's possible. We can still get the sting back inside the daily fair value gap. So again, right here, it's about reacting and seeing, but NU is definitely interesting. USD Canadian. USD Canadian is not great. because sorry, we have reached this high, but let's still look at it because we do have this fair value gap. This weekly fair value gap looks beautiful, by the way. It really looks good. So maybe we can get a retracement back into it to continue higher. The problem is, well, okay. This turns into a fair value area, right? And the problem is here on USD Canadian is that the next target is this all the way up here. That's really far. We're not going to reach that within a week. And if you look on the daily, we don't really have any closer targets than that. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we do have the previous week's high right here. That's also a target. So yeah, I think that it is definitely possible that we get the retracement back inside that weekly fair value gap, fair value area, and then we can target higher. But I just don't think we're going to reach all the way up here to this weekly swing high. Okay. So USD Canadian, okay, not the greatest, but I think it deserves a spot on the interest list. USD CHF, this one does look good. Not gonna lie. We also have the weekly fair value gap, which looks really good, by the way, even better than USD Canadian. That's overlapping with also a fair value area right here. This high has been reached. We can remove it. We have the context high, and then we have the further target, which is this one, which I think this target can be reached before the end of the week. Okay. So on the daily right here, yeah, I mean this does look good. If we can get the retracement back inside the fair value gap, then we can deliver higher. This does look good as well. And then finally, USD JPY. No, I don't like USD JPY because target has been reached right here. And then after that, well, the next target is really hard to find because it's all the way to the left. The next target goes all the way back to like 1986. That's crazy. Like that's so long ago. That's like 40 years ago. So yeah, it's for me, no. A USD JPY is not interesting right now. We already have five on the interest list. That's enough. Okay, the metals, gold. On the weekly time frame here, it's not great. Well, if you're looking for shorts, it's not great, right? Um, because this wick at the bottom does seem like we're wicking this low. But overall, I keep my bearish bias here on gold because we have this we still have this intermediate term low to reach, and I think we're gonna reach it. Okay, so yes, this weekly candle kind of goes against the idea, but if you look on the daily time frame, we actually have a range from this swing high to, well, actually, no, sorry, it's not this swing high. It's this one right here. This is the first swing high. There you go. And so I think we can still continue lower from that golden area, the zero point 0.5, and also that daily fair value gap. I think we can start going lower from here. But again, we will have to see what Monday does because if Monday creates that daily bullish fair value gap, then we have to invalidate this idea, okay? But if Monday takes out this entire bullish fair value gap, then yes, I would definitely be looking for shorts for the rest of the week. But we'll see how gold evolves. Right now, it doesn't look too good, but I think that we can reverse from this area. Silver does look better than gold. I prefer silver a lot more because, well, first of all, in the weekly, it's a strong close below this low. Um, it's the week at the bottom is not that huge. This does look way more bearish than gold. And then on the daily time frame, well, we got this thing inside the daily fair value gap on Friday. Um, but you know, we're not done with that daily fair value gap. We still need potentially to like reach the fair value area to then continue lower. So I still think that the two candle rejection or even three candle rejection can still play out here. And also keep in mind that we have the golden level, we have the golden area, and the zero point 0.5 level that are all in that, what I said in the forecast Friday. This area looks very good to reverse price. Okay. So yeah, overall, I think silver is more interesting this week, and uh, you want to look for bearish prices here on silver. Now, crude oil is actually, I like what I'm seeing here. Friday, we closed, with a wick to the upside, which shows a lot of strength. Now, if you look on the weekly, we have, well, this weekly fair value gap gets bigger now. This is the entire weekly fair value gap, considering the gap. And I don't know, I have a feeling that we can again start going higher. I haven't changed my bias here. And by the way, uh, through the weekend, there was some shots being fired in the Strait of Hormuz. Um, Trump, I think, ordered strikes on an Iranian ship because apparently they broke the memorandum of understanding. Something like that. I didn't read the whole story, but something happened in the Strait this weekend that could send gas prices higher this week. Okay, so keep that in mind, and let's keep an eye on crude oil this week. But I do like this last 4 hour for this last 4 hour candle that we got right here. We can create a 4 hour bullish fair value gap. These bearish fair value gap, I don't think they're gonna hold. And overall, yeah, I think we're gonna see higher prices on crude oil until higher prices until we reach the weekly bearish fair value gap. So higher prices like this, but once we reach the weekly fair value gap, then we might start going lower. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Bitcoin. So nothing crazy here on Bitcoin. Um, well, we delivered lower, so from that weekly fair value gap, one sting into it, then second candle expands, reach the context target low. So that's done. Now this week we could potentially create another weekly fair value gap, um, but then on the daily it doesn't look too good. I'm just gonna keep it simple here. Clearly we're bearish. There's no reason why Bitcoin would start going higher right now. We're just bearish until we reach all those targets, this fair value area right here. And from there, maybe we can start reversing. But overall, just lower prices or maybe a consolidation. That's also possible. Bitcoin has been moving a lot in the past 2 weeks. So potentially consolidation here wouldn't be too crazy. We'll see what happens. But overall, lower prices for sure. The indices. So S&P here, this is it. We're bearish. Like I said it. I called it, guys. We're bearish now. I'm not saying we're in a bear market. I'm just saying that the the price action has shifted to bearish. All right, sorry, I'm back. I had to take a call. Okay, so I was saying we're not in a bear market, right? We're not in a bear market. It's not confirmed yet, but the market structure has shifted to bearish. How can we say that? Like technically speaking, how can we say that the market structure has shifted to bearish? What's It's simply because we had this weekly fair value gap. First candle, not a rejection. Second candle, expansion to the downside. So this fair value gap is confirmed, and we still haven't reached the context low. So we are in a bearish market structure. And so this is a beautiful bearish candle right here, and we can definitely head lower towards this low. And after that, the next target is the fair value area. Okay. Um, so on the daily, it's not too clear. Friday was mostly a consolidation, but we still have a daily fair value gap that's unmitigated up here. Maybe we could get a retracement there. I would be surprised, but the stock market has been very volatile lately, so it could happen. But overall, yeah, just lower prices until we reach this low. That's the plan for the week. Very simple. And then if you look at Nasdaq, it's similar. If you look on the weekly right here, very bearish. We still have this low to reach, and then on the daily, um, you can just keep going lower. Yes, this daily fair value gap has been mitigated, so I don't think we're gonna come back all the way up there. Um, but yeah, we can just start going lower, potentially from a 4 hour fair value gap. I think that's the the most probable thing to happen. Right here, we have this 4 hour fair value gap that we are pushing lower from, and we can create a new 4 hour fair value gap. So yeah, I'm extremely bearish here on the indices for the upcoming week. But again, let's wait on Monday, see what Monday wants to do, and then we'll reassess. And then finally, the crosses. Let's take a look at them quickly. No, this is not interesting. CHF, JPY, no. No, the JPY pairs are all bad right now. Like, well, New Zealand dollar, JPY, that would be the only one that's potentially interesting. We have this low that we can reach before the end of the week, and we have a daily fair value gap right here that's not been mitigated yet. Yeah, I think New Zealand dollar JPY could potentially deliver lower right here. That's what I'm expecting. I'll put it on the interest list and we'll see. Australian dollar CHF. Yeah, the CHF pairs have been just horrible, completely horrible. Look at the consolidation here. Yeah, no, that's you see New Zealand dollar CHF. That maybe could. I don't know why the New Zealand dollar pair look like they want to deliver lower, but that daily fair value gap here is really high. I don't think we're gonna get that retracement. I'll put it in the interest list just to keep an eye on it throughout the week. But I would say of all the CHF pairs, this one is the best for sure. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. We were expecting higher prices last week and then completely reversed. So honestly, that's a consolidation here. I don't like it. Euro, Canadian, same thing. Not interesting. GBP Canadian, consolidation. Oh yeah, that's ugly. New Zealand dollar, Canadian again. What's happening with New Zealand dollar? Why do they have all these expansions? Maybe that could be interesting. No, no, it doesn't look that good to be honest. Yes, we have that expansion, but then if you look at the daily, you know, those daily fair value gaps are not great right here. I'll put it on the interest list, but again, not too great. It's funny how it's all the New Zealand dollar pairs. New Zealand JPY, New Zealand CHF, New Zealand Canadian. It's funny. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. This one could be interesting. We had, well, actually, let's look on the weekly. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that does look interesting right here. Um, we have this weekly fair value gap that we created. Look at the third candle on that fair value gap. This candle right here, the weekly candle. This is a perfect fair value gap, guys. This is the definition of a high probability fair value gap. And so, yeah, I definitely think that we can get the retracement first, and after that, we can finally deliver higher. This is probably the most interesting process right now. Euro New Zealand dollar, also not that bad, to be honest, but we could consolidate. We could create that weekly fair value gap. And then on the daily, I don't think we're going to come back down to this fair value gap. So, no, I'm not going to put it in the interest list. I would rather focus on Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. And then GBP New Zealand dollar is exactly the same thing. So no, that's not interesting. Euro Australian dollar. Um, it's honestly not too clear. I think, yeah, I think we want to go higher right here. I think, yeah, we definitely want to go higher. How can we do that? Well, I think it would be from this daily fair value. So if we can get the retracement back inside this daily fair value gap, like this, then we can start heading higher. So okay, I'll put it on the interest list, but it's not the best. And then GBP Australian dollar is the exact same scenario, same thing. We have this target here. Yeah, same scenario here. So we can continue higher from this daily fair value gap. Okay, so I'll put it on the interest list as well. Okay, so we have a couple crosses on the interest list here, with Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar being my favorite one. This weekly fair value gap does look really high probability. I'm not gonna lie. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm sorry. I know that was a long forecast, but I think we have an interesting week coming up. Even if the economic calendar doesn't look like the greatest economic calendar, I still believe that there is potential this week. Okay. So the dollar, higher prices throughout the week, but we could see a retracement back inside the weekly fair value gap in the first half of the week. Keep that in mind. Then we have a couple majors that are interesting, with AU being my favorite, and then USD. Actually, no, sorry. USDCHF is my favorite right now. Then on the metals, gold is not great. We'll have to wait to see what Monday wants to do. Can we create that bullish fair value gap or not? But when it comes to metals, I would rather look at silver. Silver has been moving in a very nice way lately. I just really like the high probability aspect of silver. And so I would prefer to take a look at silver this week. But overall, on the metals, lower prices, that's for sure. Crude oil, higher prices for, the beginning of the week until we reach that bearish weekly fair value gap. Then we'll reassess. But I think we're in for higher prices to start the week, especially with if you take into account what happened this weekend in the Strait of Hormuz. Bitcoin just simply lower prices, nothing crazy here. And then finally, the indices lower prices until we reach this low, well, these lows right here. Okay. So yeah, I think there's some good setups coming up uh, for um, for this week. And so we'll keep an eye on this. I'll keep you updated with the daily forecast throughout the week. And yeah, I'm wishing you a good trading week and well, a short trading week, a 4-day trading week. So we're gonna have a long weekend. Happy Canada Day for everyone that's from Canada, and happy 4th of July for all the Americans. All right, lads. Well, thank you for listening, and I will see you in tomorrow's forecast. Ciao.